Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. So Trump is playing tightrope, offering very minimal transparency on the Epstein files by trying to shut down dissent. Also, Russia's stance may realign foreign policy on campaign theater, and Biden's Autopen saga sharpens GOP focus on presidential competency and generational transitions. And also, Obama pep talk signals a very renewed pivotal within the Democrats from analysis to action. I'm really going to start touching on these Epstein files and dig more into this because there's more than I think that a lot of the American people are involved when you have so many high-powered figures avoiding Epstein and speaking in between lines, on top of lines, underlines, and not really giving us the transparency that the Trump administration has once promised to the American people. Now you have people like Megyn Kelly, Steve Bannon. You have all of these people who was hardcore right MAGA now coming out and speaking against no other than President Trump. So yesterday morning, Trump spoke to reporters July 15th, urging AG Pam Bondi to release whatever she thinks is credible from the DOJ's Epstein review, but then slammed those still asking questions as pretty bad people and described the case as sordid but boring. And he's attempting to ease MAGA frustration while controlling the narrative, allowing a very narrow release, but discouraging any deeper probes into the Epstein files. And that back and forth is fracturing unity as right-wing allies demand all files be released. And so I want you guys to chime in on what the president is stating here.
Your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job. And I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also. But I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important. And you want credible evidence for something like that. But she's handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to go off on a limb here. Now, I know that a lot of people may not like what I'm about to say. This government is hiding something. So when Obama was in office, they stated that they had files. Trump is in office, they stated that they have files. And now stating that there's no credible evidence that anything that all of these victims that supposedly exist, that anything has happened to these people. So I'm just very curious of all of this fictitious media information, and I'm not, again, talking about mass media. I'm talking about Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, President Trump, all of these high-powered figures that are involved now stating that there's no credible evidence that there were child pornography, that there was anything that Epstein was doing on this particular island. And we're going to dive deeper into this in this particular episode. So please stay tuned because I'm just going to go a little bit deeper and give you guys live footage. Okay. I'm gonna give you guys footage of some of the reports of what these people were actually stating, because anyone can just talk to you. But when you hear from the source's mouth, then that'll tell you what's really going on in this government currently. Now, MAGA hardliners like Alex Jones have accused Trump of backtracking. Even Speaker Mike Johnson broke ranks demanding transparency. And the DOJ memo said no client list exists and Epstein died by suicide, but doubts persist. But do not forget that there is a minute of the Epstein videotape of his prison cell missing. There's 1 minute missing. Now, a lot of things can happen in 1 minute. People can be unalived in 1 minute. Guards can rush in. They can have other prisoners rush in and do all sort of obscene things and pretend as though Epstein committed suicide. Now, here's another conspiracy theory that Epstein is still alive. There's been reports that Epstein is somehow still alive. But again, we're going to cover, and we're just touching the surface here today, folks. But I think I'm going to give you enough information for you guys to understand. But I do have a couple other stories that I do want to bring to your attention because there's a lot going on in this country. Now, Trump announced tough new policies imposed very significant secondary sanctions on Russia and all of its trading partners. So anyone who is connected to Russia monetarily in the business aspect, Trump is putting them on notice. And he stated that if Putin doesn't pull back from Ukraine in 50 days, he even labeled Putin all talk and no action. I don't know why President Trump is provoking Putin, because Putin at every turn has duped our president. He has lied. He's been conniving. He has been everything that, unfortunately, Ukraine has stated that he is. The Ukrainian President Zelensky, told President Trump that that man cannot be trusted. And so far, the president, the words of the Ukrainian President Zelensky has reigned to be true. So now President Trump has given Vladimir Putin 50 days to pull back. Now, granted, I've been in the military. I'm retired for quite some time, and I've been in the military. And believe me, it doesn't take 50 days to pull back. Most well-organized armies, well-organized militaries can pull back in 48 hours, depending on the amount of manpower, the equipment. Of course, I know that's subjective, but nonetheless, you can pull back in at least 2 days. You can pull back. I don't know why 50 days, because here's another thing that you guys should really think about. If Russia really wanted to destroy Ukraine, they could do it in 50 days. So again, they could probably do it in 30 days. They just continue to bombard them. And do not forget that North Korea is also supplying Russia. And I wonder, some of the allies, this is the allies that we know that are connected to Russia in some form or fashion. I wonder if India is supplying Russia with any resources of any sort. Are any African countries are supplying Russia with any resources of any sort? These are the questions. So 50 days is a very long time for the people of Ukraine to go through bombardment, infiltration, invading. I mean, a lot of things can happen. I don't understand the strategic, quote unquote, the strategic timeline of 50 days. That's a very long timeline when it comes to war. If anybody's ever been in any conflict or any battle, 50 days is a very long time. And I just wonder what President Putin of Russia is going to do. Now, this is a departure from Trump's earlier signals. Are we seeking what seems to be a very hawkish shift, or election year posturing for the midterms? I just don't know the strategic timeline that President Trump has presented. 50 days, again, if you're going through it, it's a very long time. Now, a GOP-led probe on the White House Counsel review are underway into Biden's use of the Autopen on pardons and official acts. And Trump and Rep. Buddy Carter called them void, describing Biden as incompetent and senile. And critics see a mounting age crisis narrative. And the story really taps into broader age and fitness controversies, fueling GOP talking points on Biden's capacity to govern. They stated that he was senile, he was outside of his mind, that he didn't know what he was doing. He allowed everybody to use this Autopen. And Biden came out and stated, I was deeply involved. I laid out a strategy how I want to go about this, dealing with pardons and commutations. He goes on to state that I made every single one of these, but I understand why Trump would think that, because obviously, I guess, he doesn't focus much anyway. So yes, I made every decision. So depending on the status of the Autopen, Hugh used it in the absence of the president. He said that he was full aware of him using his Autopen. I may go a little bit deeper into the story at a later time. I just want the information and clarity and transparency to come out before I give you guys reports, because I know that you come here for a source of truth. So again, combing through all these different media stories, going into some of the journals and the articles, personal reports, we're talking about X pages, quote unquote, Twitter pages, truth. So I'm going all over the place to try to connect the dots when it comes to a lot of these stories, because again, I think the American people really think, especially in Biden's last 2 years, that he was a shell of himself. Even the Democrats, in some regards, have come out and stated that. And again, as a disclaimer, I know I say it a lot, family. Not a Democrat, not a Republican, not an independent, just trying to give you guys the truth. Because for some reason, everybody has some sort of special interest in a lot of these high-powered things that the Trump administration, the Obama administration, the Biden administration told that was going to have transparency and give you guys the truth. But I just do not see it. Now, at a New Jersey fundraiser raising $2.5 million, Obama delivered a pointed message: stop navel gazing and whining, focus on media smart data driven campaigns, and toughen up. He urged backing pragmatic candidates capable of winning, not just ideological favorites. And Obama's message reflects within Democrats over the 2026 and echoes internal pressure from progressive youth movements and internal critique. He told the Democrats, stop whining, and to toughen up and get in there and do something. Get in there and do something. Now, do not forget that the story that I reported yesterday, that I may give you guys more insight and context at a later date, about General Michael Flynn informing President Donald Trump that he has information that President Obama was behind spying on President Trump and was pushing propaganda narratives to the media like CNN and MSNBC to deflame and to basically sabotage President Trump's presidency even before day one. So again, these are very large claims, very large allegations. And again, we're still waiting for the release of all of these emails and back and forth traffic that supposedly the Security Council, Michael, at the time, General Michael Flynn, had and stated to President Trump. Now, I do want to go a bit deeper in the Epstein files, because I believe that this story right here, when it pertains to Epstein, is very, very intriguing. And again, I've waited for a very long time to present to you guys information and stories so we can just get the details of it. It seems as though that everybody is sitting on their hands when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi sparked a storm when she asserted that the Department of Justice possessed tens of thousands of videos relating to Jeffrey Epstein. Did she not state that? Does anyone recall any video clips, any news media of Attorney General Pam Bondi stating that there's tens of thousands of Epstein files? Does anyone recall that in any regards? And she also stated that these files is being reviewed, and they're being reviewed for the potential child exploitation content. But her bold claims face immediate pushback, because at a recent White House gathering, Bondi told a lot of reporters that the FBI was reviewing tens of thousands of videos of the wealthy financiers with children or child porn. And on early occasions during a Fox briefing and impromptu encounters, Bondi repeated that an Epstein client list was sitting on her desk. Yes, I have a client list of all the people who were dealing in child pornography with Epstein. And that has sparked and fueled speculation that names and tapes will soon be released regarding this. And the right-wing blogosphere, MAGA influencers, and conspiracy networks erupted in anticipation, convinced that this was a smoking gun. These are red-hearted Americans, red-hearted blood Americans. And then they voted for President Trump for transparency, clarity, and truth. And President Trump has been back and forth. Are we still talking about this creep, Jeffrey Epstein? You guys remember that when he was in the White House stating that? And now he's stating, as I showed you guys, when it comes to this particular report I showed you here, how he's now stating that if Pam Bondi has any credible evidence, that she should release it. But she already stated that she had credible evidence, that there's tens of thousands of hours of tape that the FBI is combing through at this very moment. So in case you guys forgot, I just want to remind you guys of what she stated and then in the manner that she stated it.
All the Epstein files are missing. They still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. They still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
So there you have it, that the FBI have tens of thousands that they're combing through of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. Now, that's vastly different from what Kash Patel stated on the Joe Rogan. And just to give Joe Rogan his flowers for this magnificent interview I'm showing here, I just want you guys to listen in on some of this, and I'll cut back in and give you guys my thoughts.
Because of his relationships, who he knew, who his bankers were, who his colleagues were, who was on the island and stuff like that. Some pretty powerful human beings. And so when you peel back the layer and then what happened? The Trump administration, the last go around, decided, no, we're not going to let that go. We're going to investigate him, right? They charge him, they indict him, and he's awaiting trial. And I've said it, Dan Bongino said it, we've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release. He killed himself. Do you think, let's play out the logical conclusion of this. Do you think that myself, Bongino, and others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque?
Yes, before you even finish, yes. Because again, as I told you guys before, I believe in some regards, our governments are corrupt. There's more corrupt governments than other, but there's always some sort of layer and level of corruption in every government, because we're talking about with people with $1 million bank accounts, $1 billion bank accounts, and then power, unforeseen power of doing the most egregious things to hide and protect people that they are connected to, people they're related to, people they're in business dealings with.
Test activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? But the problem is there's been like 15 years of people coming in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Where's the videotape of an Epstein Island of X, Y, and Z committing these frauds? Why haven't you given it to us? Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you?
I'm sorry, this is no laughing matter, because if there are victims out there, then I believe a lot of these child victims that are possibly grown now, and I don't know if they signed a non-disclosure agreement. I don't know if their voices have been silenced in some regards. I don't know, either by threat, by force, or by incentives. I just don't know. But on one accord, we have the Attorney General of the United States of America stating that the FBI, that Kash Patel is now the director of, that the FBI is going through tens of hundreds of thousands of video that contains Epstein with children or Epstein and child porn. And now it's stating that, if we had this evidence that all these other administrations kind of fictitiously made up all this evidence that doesn't exist.
If it existed, I'm working my ass off along with the leadership at the Bureau and DOJ to get you what we're allowed to give you. And you're going to get the video of the cell, and you're going to see for yourself. And we will never be able to convince everyone.
Okay, let's get into that. So what did you think before you got into office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
No.
No suspicion at all of it?
But I have a different background, right?
Right.
So I was a public defender back in the day. I used to spend a lot of time in jails and a lot of time in segregated housing units, SHUs as we call them, right? And so, and I've known people that have committed suicide in these cells. And I know how you get in, how you get out, who works the system. And so the way based on public information at the time, that he ended up the pictures and him hanging himself. I was like, yeah, that guy killed himself. There's just no way that you could have run an op and had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy. There's just no access points into places like this in the detention center he was in, which I've been in. So
correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was told, what I'd read, was that the guards were not paying attention or were sleeping.
Well,
right?
And in short order, you'll see it.
Is that correct?
I wonder if Joe Rogan is going to ask about the full minute of videotape missing from that guard camp, from that prison camp. I'm just wondering, because even if the guards are not paying attention, all of a sudden, so I want you guys to just put this into perspective. So again, if you ever did guard duty, you've been a security guard, whatever the case may be, if you did any sort of guard, yeah, there comes a time where it's mundane, you're bored, you're tired, you're probably on your phone, you're probably looking into the sky, you're thinking about all sorts of things. You've been doing this for hours on end, days on end, years on end. So again, you get very complacent in your job, so to speak. So you may not have been paying attention, but simultaneously, you're not paying attention. And then 1 minute of videotape is missing. And some people are like, well, 1 minute is not that long for things to occur. It's a very long time. It's a very long time, depending on how the videotape was actually recorded. And at the time that the guard stating that, or there are reports that the guards wasn't paying attention. I wonder if those guards still have their job.
Correct.
Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video, right? Where they and look, do guards doze off on the night shift? Yeah. But no one can get in to the cell. And if they had gotten in to the cell, you would see it.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But that was in the news.
We're giving you all the footage we have.
So why wasn't that released immediately? Why did this speculation escalate?
I think you'd have to ask whoever the attorney general back then was, Bill Barr.
Did you ever see, do you remember that HBO Autopen?
And what you'll notice, a lot of these people in these high governmental positions always push responsibility or accountability on someone else. Oh, well, you will have to talk to Bill Barr. And President Trump was like, oh, well, if Pam Bondi has credible evidence, then, she should release it. It just seems that nobody is taking accountability. Not that they're responsible for anything that Jeffrey Epstein has done, but no one is taking responsibility of the claims that the Trump administration, and one of the hallmarks and pillars, the reason why the American people voted for him, to release the Epstein files. People were just waiting for this. And Kash Patel himself said, we're going to give you everything we can, but we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that stuff back out there. If other people have other stuff, then bring it to us. And Patel went even further than that, because during this interview, the line of questioning, he firmly dismissed the existence of any, serendipitous Epstein Island footage, and insisted that what the FBI has is legal, and obtain the amount of quote unquote evidence is limited. Like, there's really nothing to give you guys more than what's already released in the public. And I'm calling BS. I believe that there's more. I believe that this is a very large cover up. I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. Now, again, this is my conjecture. I like to always point that out. This is my rhetoric. But again, where there's fire, there's smoke. There's a lot of fire here, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of fire here. I'm going to play a little bit more of this and give you some context, but there's something that's going on here.
Topsy Show. Dr. Michael Baden. He's a famous forensic scientist. So he's a pathologist, and he reviewed the case, and it was his determination that it was a homicide because of the way his neck was broken. And what he said was it was indicative of a ligature strangulation. And it was because of the positioning on the neck where the marks were, that it wasn't indicative of someone hanging by their weight, which had been higher on the chin. And there's a specific break of the bones and the vertebrae that's consistent with someone who is just strangled to death.
I haven't seen it. I'll definitely take a look at it, because that's part of my job.
You haven't seen that?
The report?
Jeffrey Epstein?
No, I haven't looked at
This guy's
that.
been
Did you
talked about
see
for
any?
years.
Was there any other autopsy done other than the official one?
Not to my knowledge, but if there was, you'll get it. And that's what we're doing.
See if you can find that Dr. Michael Baden thing.
Yeah. No,
Do you remember that show, the HBO show?
No.
Pretty cool show.
Yeah,
So this guy, Dr. Michael Baden, he had a long career of catching murderers.
So granted, not to give Kash Patel any excuses, I understand he's fresh in the job, and this is one of the hottest stories. Now, again, he can extinguish the flame simply by investigating some of the information that Joe Rogan has come into about that this was more likely strangulation than it was someone who committed suicide by hanging in their cell. Again, I know there are a lot of investigators stating that, well, how did he position himself? How did he get it where it's high or above, the esophagus? How did it cut off his trachea? They've been asking all of these questions. And it just seemed as though that one, has the American people viewed the body of Jeffrey Epstein? Could he possibly still be alive? I know these are a lot of what kind of gets into the realm of conspiracy theories. But again, this is one of the hottest stories of all of these egregious things that supposedly happened on this island. And this is why the American people believe there is more here than what a lot of these government officials are stating, because you have our president who used to party with Jeffrey Epstein, and who knows who else is on this list. Because I believe that there's all types of people on this list, and none of them want this to get out. And you know what? Here's the sad part about this. There's a chance that we really never know what happened with Epstein Island, and supposedly and allegedly all these powerful billionaires, influencers, business owners, whoever was ever on this line, was ever on the island and engaged in any sexual activity with minors. I think that is the big questions that we have. And again, I'm just coming through this, and I want you know what? I want to remind you guys of something. Let me throw this over here very quickly. I want to remind you guys of what President Trump, when asked about the Epstein files, once again, how he responded to this. I want you guys to listen in on this as well. This is very short.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration.
Now, again, I'm no body language expert, but I'm just going to rewind it to the very beginning, because I want you to look at President Trump's body language. Again, I'm no expert. I haven't been trained. But if you watch President Trump long enough when he answered questions, I just want you guys to keen in on his body movements, his hands, his chest, and mainly his facial expressions. This, in my opinion, I know this is my conjecture, but this, in my opinion, President Trump looks very different when he was talking about this. He just seems very different when he was talking about this. I'm going to back this up a little bit here. Give me a second. I'm just very curious of the way he responded with this. Give me 1 second. I need to back this up. But I want you guys to please pay attention to his body language and listen as he state his claims.
Talking about Jeffrey Epstein, this guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, again, this is my conjecture. This is me alluding that I still think there's something being hidden about this. Okay, let's go a little deeper.
exhuming bodies, finding trace amounts of poisons, different kinds of things. And it was a crazy show, like all these wild ways.
Well, I love watching shows, and I spend a lot of time on planes.
Yeah, it was an old show. It was
Okay.
a show like from the early 2000s, I believe. But this guy was like, this very well-respected forensic scientist who would analyze these bodies and previously ruled that Mr. Epstein's death on August 10th in the Metropolitan Correctional Center was a suicide. I stand firmly behind our determination of the cause and manner of death in this case. Dr. Sampson said in the interview on Wednesday. She added, in general, fractures of the hyoid bone and cartilage can be seen in suicides and homicides. The hyoid bone is near the Adam's apple. Dr. Sampson also dismissed Dr. Baden's contention that the circumstances around Mr. Epstein's death suggested other people may have been involved. She said her office had done a complete investigation, taking into consideration information gathered by law enforcement in making the determination.
So this is a perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite.
Right.
And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on earth. Literally. The guys that
and for some strange reason, I think you're still doing that. I still think you're representing some of the worst human beings on earth. And I'm not throwing any names in that because I want you guys just to the statement I just made, I want you guys to appoint and don that to anyone you deem necessary. Now, the Associated Press conducted an investigation to Bondi's claims and reported no supporting documentations. And courts and lawyers involved in this case that they were unaware of these so-called legendary videos. And then current day folks, Bondi continues to face pressure, and right-wing critics like Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon, and even Marjorie Taylor Greene are clamoring for full access to the Jeffrey Epstein files. They want surveillance tapes and documents. And the Republican-led efforts release sealed files in the House narrowly failed in a 211 to 210 vote. So somebody does not want that to come out. And don't forget, again, Bondi's camp insists that the DOJ, by the way of the FBI, are actively reviewing a massive trove and maintaining oversight. And then Kash Patel camp, FBI, claims that a measured release focused on protective victims. So again, we want to release the files, but we want to protect the victims. We want to release the Epstein files, but we want to protect the victims. That's very easy. It's called redaction. Redact names, anything, date of birth, any sort of PHI or PII. This redacted. Yeah, use Adobe. I'll teach them how to do it. Just use Adobe and redact that information. Redact their name, their hometown, their height, weight, anything that can describe the victim. Just redact it. Why is this still being a contradiction within the government? The AG stated that we had tens of thousands of video footage that the FBI is combing through, but now the FBI stating, well, we had it, we'll release it, and we're not going to re-victimize the victims. Well, what is it? You're going to release what you had, or you're not going to re-victimize? And again, redaction. You can blur faces. I mean, we have all sorts of technology, folks. And guess what? You don't even have to do it manually like I do. Just throw it in some AI. Again, you got all these large language models. Utilize the technology that we currently have. I just feel, and I hate using the word feel. I like to base things off of evidence, but I just feel there's something more here. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you are thinking the same thing. Why is it so much confusion? Why? Why is it seems as though that the government is imploding? Tens of thousands videos, Bondi says, and that the FBI is reviewing tens of thousands. And then if you watch this interview or just watch this 20-minute clip of Kash Patel stating that, we've released pretty much everything. And the FBI denies existence of Epstein Island videos of him, period, and him with any children, so to speak. Because, again, Joe Rogan asked Kash Patel, Kash, do you have that many videos? And Patel answered, no. we have what we obtained lawfully. We'll release everything we can. And then Joe Rogan said, is Trump named in those files? And Kash Patel stated that the conversation is outside my lane. I'm not participating in it. Wait a minute. That is what Kash Patel stated on the Joe Rogan show. He said, is President Trump named in those files? I'm paraphrasing, by the way. Is President Trump named in those files? Oh, that conversation outside my lane. I'm not participating on it. Whoa. It's almost like he's recusing himself and excusing himself, but still offering a layer of protection. We're going to listen just a little bit more. As I told, I'm just touching the surface of this. I know there's many other, well-named media moguls out there, like Candace Owens already touched on this, but I'm gonna touch it from my perspective. Okay, I'm not as eloquent as her. I'm a little more rough, straight down the middle. I'm not gonna deal with too much conjecture except for my own. But let's listen in just a little bit more of this.
We're trafficking children from Mexico into America, and you could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever. And my job is not the forever. My job is to get you absolutely everything that we can give you. And that's what we're going to do.
When did you become aware of this video that showed that no one had gone in and out of the cell?
Recently.
So why was it recent, though? I mean, if this death was, how long ago was this death? 2 years? 2019?
2019.
Oh, really? Why time flies. So 6 years.
Well, again, that's part of what I'm going to try to answer for you.
Jeffrey Epstein jail CCTV erased by technical errors. Whoopsies.
Yeah.
But you see how anybody on the outside, I mean, this is like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
For something. Can you pull that article up so we can read what it says, Jamie?
I'm gonna stop it right there, folks. It is a perfect storm, but we're going to finish this in a later video. I just wanted to see more evidence and information come out, but it is a perfect storm. So there was a technical error that supposedly erased 1 minute of the video. At the same time, the guards were looking the other way. And at the same time, Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. Wow. That's a shocker. And now you have the AG Pam Bondi saying there's tens of thousands of hundreds of videotapes. Then you have the FBI, and she said that the FBI is combing through it, videos of Jeffrey Epstein with children or child porn. And then the FBI is going through that. And then you have Kash Patel to state that if we had anything more, don't you think that we would give it to you? Don't you think that we release it? And my answer is no. And then when the question about Trump are in those files, oh, that's outside of my lane. I'm not going to participate on that. Oh, it seems as though that Kash Patel has seen something or have some sort of evidence that he's been silenced or Again, I don't want to get too much into conjecture because there's a lot to go off here. But anyway, I'm going to keep you guys well updated of anything else that I find. Again, we're going to revisit this. We're going to touch on this a little bit more because I want to dive a little bit deeper into the Autopen situation with President Biden as well, because I believe there could be some slippage or some leaks of medical information of any particular ailments or conditions that President Biden might have had during the time of his presidency. But nonetheless, we'll get into it. You guys have a good one. This is Blacklogic.